Hello, everyone, and welcome to the St. Ignatius College Prep College Fair. We are very excited to have you participating in this event with us this evening. We have some fantastic schools here with us today, and each will have 6 minutes to share more about their respective institution, and afterwards we'll probably have time for a few questions as well. My name is Clarissa, and I'll be your facilitator for this webinar this evening. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping items. Your camera and microphone are turned off so the panelists cannot see or hear you. There's also a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen that you can use to ask us questions at any time. And if you do have a question for a specific school, be sure to mention them within your question. And lastly, the session is being recorded and will be available afterwards at strivescan.com/Ignatius. Now, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our first institution, which is Northwestern University.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. My name is Chris Tokuhama, and I am a Senior Assistant Director of Admission at Northwestern. I'm actually filling in for a colleague this evening. So if you're expecting Ones, I am sorry, but I am here instead. And to kind of give a quick kind of overview of us, we are located in Evanston, Illinois, which is about 12 miles north of downtown Chicago. We are a medium-sized school, so about 8,000 undergraduate students. And we are kind of in the best of both worlds, we like to say. We're in the small college town of Evanston, but certainly have access to the city of Chicago for things like internships and research. A lot of our students will use the city in terms of their educational experiences, doing field work in the city itself, or just going out in a typical non-COVID year and seeing theater shows and restaurants and kind of experiencing the life of a major metropolitan area. So it's a great kind of place if you're looking for a home base that's not directly in the city, but still want access to all of those things. Because we only have 6 minutes, I'm going to skip over a couple of our slides here and kind of talk to you really quickly about some things that I think are really important about the core of who we are. When we talk about sort of who is a great Northwestern student, one of the things that we really kind of prize is this idea of openness to change or diversity. We want folks who are willing to interact with people who don't think like they do. We have very small seminar-based classes, and our hope is to bring people from all across the country, all across the world, kind of together in a classroom and work through ideas. And so we're not necessarily just looking for the smartest person in the room, the student who's always raising their hand and ready to get the right answer. We're looking for folks who can really reflect on what their peers are saying and build on that knowledge in a classroom setting, and together as a cohort kind of come to a place of greater understanding. So it's a slightly different skill set than what you might be used to in high school. But that's really kind of speaking to what this, what we call this idea of intellectual curiosity. We want you as a student to sort of go out there and be pushing the boundary and saying, what is possible? What could be different? What should be different and why? Not just getting an A on an exam or writing a really great paper, but asking these really great questions about the world. And to tie into that, we really have this idea of kind of the 6 interdisciplinary schools. The thing about us to know is that our students are studying multiple subjects, but they're not just multidisciplinary. They're thinking very carefully about sort of how one area of the university can help them understand something else really in a new way. This is sort of the liberal arts backbone of who we are as a research university. We sort of bring this idea of sampling different kinds of classes. And there's a lot of flexibility within scheduling for students to be able to do that, to take classes from different schools, to double major, and really kind of make their program their own. And so I think that's really kind of the hallmark of a great liberal arts education, is the flexibility of that. So if that sounds interesting to you, certainly feel free to kind of dig into our website a little bit more and find out more about that. You can kind of take a look at all the majors that we have on our website and things like that. But the idea is that students are studying multiple fields, but also combining that with kind of this real world experience. And we alluded to this a little bit earlier with the city of Chicago. We're really pushing students to get off campus again and safely, knowing that COVID restrictions and things like that are kind of taking place around the world. But we certainly want students to kind of get their hands dirty and put into practice what they're learning in a classroom. So this idea of blending theoretical with practical is really important to us. We want you to sort of say, let me test out what I'm learning in a classroom in a real world setting, or, find a research institute, work with colleagues, work with the city of Chicago, make sort of change happen, use my knowledge for good. And what that ends up happening for a lot of students is that they actually kind of work with their peers. We are really the kind of culture on campus where folks are not just sitting under a tree reading a book, but they're actively going out and saying, how can I have a new startup, or I want a company to kind of get off the ground? What can I do in terms of starting an NGO? And they're kind of finding colleagues, whether that's either their peers, graduate students, professors, to kind of help them realize their dreams. And it's really kind of this active forward momentum that we have on campus. So if that sounds cool to you, certainly take a look at Wildcat Connection. That is the official student hub of all of our organizations, and you can see what is available. But the main thing to note there is that we really have this sort of drive that's self-directed. It's not students who are saying, I'm trying to do these things to go to grad school, but instead saying there are things that are really important to me about the world, or things that I want to do. And I'm using Northwestern as sort of a foundation, a stepping stone to go off and do those kinds of things. And so it's a really collaborative culture. We talk a lot about sort of, we are very academically rigorous, but it's not cutthroat. I think a lot of folks on our campus really want to work with their peers, and there's this sense of collegiality and friendliness where people are getting together around midterms and projects, and kind of there's just this energy that's on campus. So if you're interested in that, certainly feel free to check us out. We're having in-person campus tours again. So if you're in the area and you're able to kind of stop by, please feel free to take a look at our website and see what's available. But the last thing, I have like a minute left, I wanted to talk very quickly about sort of financial aid. There's kind of a quick slide here, so certainly take a look. But the one thing to kind of note is that we are a school that is need blind for domestic students. So if you are even thinking about financial aid, certainly dive into it more and know that as a domestic student, it will not impact your chances of admission. The other thing is that we have a no loan policy. So for students who receive financial aid from us domestically, they will receive a financial aid package that includes university scholarship, grants, and loans, but no money that they need to pay back to the university. So certainly take a look if you're kind of browsing estimated family contribution calculator. Our website are great resources or places to start. But really quickly to wrap up, this is a list of our socials. So if you're taking a look, please feel free to kind of check out what's available. We have a lot of stuff from our students every day about what's going on campus. But with that, I think that is my time. So I'm going to hand it back over to Clarissa.
Thank you for your presentation, Northwestern. Up next, we have University of Chicago.
Oh my gosh, Northwestern, you're quick. Let's see if I can do that just as quickly as you. All right, here we go. So thank you, everyone. My name is Veronica. I work in the undergraduate admissions office at the University of Chicago. I'm also a fill-in tonight. So normally, Ignatius students get the pleasure of working with my colleague, Carol Lynn. She's a graduate of the University of Chicago. She's been in our office for years. She's fantastic. I'm sure some of you have met her. So if you have questions in the future, she or I can help you with those. I'm going to give you the basic overview of Chicago. We are a university in that we have graduate and professional schools. So on our same campus here in Hyde Park, just a few miles south of Ignatius, we have our hospitals and our medical school. We have a law school. We have a business school. We have academic departments that are giving out masters and PhDs. There are a lot of things happening on campus for people who already have college degrees. That's typical of any of the universities you're going to hear from tonight. We have, at the undergrad level, one undergraduate college. College is the name of the school that we go to when we don't yet have a college degree, right? So university usually, not always, but usually denotes their graduate schools also on that campus, or were in the past. College is for students who don't yet have a college degree. So we already saw that a university can be made up of several different types of undergraduate colleges based on what you want to study. Very common. Chicago is a little bit different. We have one undergraduate college. So if you're applying to Chicago from high school or don't yet have a degree, you're applying to a liberal arts college. That's how we set up our curriculum. And that's what liberal arts means. It's a curriculum distinction. So in the US, when a university says they have a liberal arts college or that they are a liberal arts college, they're telling you about how they study. So at a liberal arts college, you kind of think of it as a continuum. You have on one end in this country liberal arts colleges that are open curriculum. They have lots of great subjects. You get to choose what you want to take. There aren't like course requirements. So you will pick what you want to do, like a major, but other subjects are up to you. Most liberal arts colleges fall in the middle. They have what's called diversification or distribution. This is the gen ed requirement that exists at most colleges. No matter what you want to major in, specializing academically, you're going to still take 3 to 5 different subject areas that the college outlines. Chicago is on the end of that curriculum with a core curriculum. So we have 8 subject areas that all undergraduate students have to try, no matter what they want to do academically for their major or for their career. So it feels a little bit more similar to high school when you start out. The 8 areas include math, two different kinds of sciences. So there's biological sciences, and then the physical sciences. That's what we will find are not biosciences, physics and chemistry. We do reading and writing across humanities, social sciences, and an area we call civilizations. We produce or appreciate the fine arts, and we prove that we have intro-level foreign language ability or take intro-level foreign language classes. So it's a little bit more than normal. When you meet someone from a liberal arts college, just try and figure out like where their curriculum exists. We're kind of on one end, but lots exist in other places. Similar mid-size, probably about 7,000 undergraduates at this point. We are residential, so we're local, and if you're local, we still expect you to live in the residence halls for the first 2 years that you're in Chicago. You can choose what you want to do after that. For the first 2 years, you'll be here in Hyde Park on campus. As far as the admissions process goes, we're known for some really fun application questions, fun, weird, quirky, whatever you want to call them. So I do want to talk about that process just briefly. Most colleges have a general application that you're going to send in. We use coalition or common application. We want a transcript on the pages so we can see what classes you take, how you doing them over time, write that ebb and flow. We get 2 teacher recommendations from teachers who've taught you in high school subjects, academic subjects. And then we have the really cool Chicago supplemental essays. We've already heard a little bit from someone about what fit is for their college. You may hear that more this hour. At U Chicago, that's where you find fit in our weird question, right? Are you a creative thinker? Do you like learning? Like, what is the thinking process like for you? If you can have fun with the weird questions, it usually is indicative that you're a good fit for liberal arts and you're a good fit for U Chicago. They're available on our website. They're really, really cool. Some are listed on the slide. We are test optional. We have been for years. We're not going to change that. So you get to choose whether or not you send in SAT or ACT. We have 3 different rounds of applications for senior year. There are 2 rounds in November and 2 in January. We have a non-binding open early action option, 2 binding early decision rounds, and a regular decision round. No matter when you apply, you submit the same materials. Our financial aid is very similar to what you just heard from Northwestern. Need line, loan-free, full need. They're really great packages when students and families are in need. Financial aid is need-based. So this is what does a family make and earn? What do they have in income and assets? And what does a college have to pay to help a family send someone to college? We also have merit-based scholarships, and they are automatic review at U Chicago. So you apply to the college. You have also applied for scholarships, right? That is done. You have to send in anything extra. You can see a full list of them on the website. Some are specific to Chicago only. So for students here, depending on where they go to school or what their parent does for work, right, you'll see all the different things. But we offer both need-based aid and merit-based scholarship. And as far as merit goes, it is automatic review. I think that's where I'm going to leave it from there. If you need anything else, Carolyn and I are always at your disposal. You can answer questions anytime. Thanks.
Thank you, University of Chicago. Up next, we have Johns Hopkins University.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for spending a bit of your evening with us. My name is Nick Igo, Assistant Director of Admissions at Johns Hopkins University. I'm also an alumnus of the institution and your point of contact for the general Chicagoland area. I'm going to cover a lot of information very quickly, but what I want to ultimately leave you with is the feeling, the philosophy of what Hopkins students go through as students here, what you can expect. This should be the start of a conversation, not the end of it. And so ultimately, I want to leave you with that experience, that emotional connection of what does it mean to be a Hopkins student and what does it look like to leave a legacy on our campus. And so ultimately, I want to start with our mission. So when Johns Hopkins was founded in 1876, we were founded as the first research institution in the United States. And that culture of research, the creation of new knowledge, is going to permeate into all facets of the institution. It's not just an academic thing you do, it's a way of life. It's something that we live and breathe across the professional realm, the academic realm, and the personal realm, right? How we approach the world around us. And so this is ultimately what drives our admissions process. This is what drives the extracurricular commitments, the academic opportunity, the curriculum structure here at Johns Hopkins, this mission to create knowledge for the world. Excuse me. When we were also founded in 1876, we were also set up as a liberal arts institution. So oftentimes, we think and categorize institutions as research or liberal arts, but we were very intentional in the cultivation of both. And Johns Hopkins is not just the first research institution, it was the first university in the United States to use the seminar style of learning. And so this small group discussion class facilitated by world-class faculty is what you should expect as a student at Hopkins. We are a medium-sized campus. Of the 3 presenters so far, we're actually on the smaller end of medium at only about 5,300 undergraduate students. But that still really allows us to facilitate small group discussion with our world-class faculty members with an average class size of about 20 students, 7-to-1 student faculty ratio in this small liberal arts curriculum. Hopkins is also an institution of firsts in many ways. We are #1 for research funding. This really allows our students to take advantage of the widest breadth possible of making an impact in the academic space. Our students are going on and publishing oftentimes multiple times before the end of their undergraduate career across academic disciplines. And so it's not so clear cut, right, that it's only in STEM, it's only in engineering, it's across the humanities and social sciences as well. All 52 of our programs offer undergraduate research opportunities for students to pursue individually or collaboratively with other members of the institution. Hopkins is an international institution with campuses in China, in Italy, our campus in Washington, D.C. and access points there, but of course the variety of campus touch points in the city of Baltimore that we call home, which I'll talk about in just a brief moment. As you can see, I already spoke a little briefly about how our academics include engineering, natural sciences, and the humanities and social sciences, but you can see roughly a third breakdown of our undergraduate students here. The reason why this is so rough, though, is because close to 70% of our students double major. We're actively going through a curriculum revamp right now. We've always promoted this open and flexible curriculum where students are really able to dive into whichever courses they want to take as soon as they arrive on campus, because we feel that academic freedom is ultimately going to be the best serving towards our mission to create new knowledge. However, this new curriculum revamp is really going to be prioritizing what we define as orthogonal double majors, or majors that don't necessarily coincide, like biology and neuroscience. There's a lot of overlap there. What if we did neuroscience in creative writing, or neuroscience in music, or biomedical engineering in history, right? How do the juxtaposition of these two academic interests come together to produce new knowledge at the undergraduate level? And so our curriculum is going through this structure to really promote and excite students to pursue multiple disciplines and still graduate within 4 years, looking at the intersection of how these disciplines can create new knowledge together. 80% of our students are going to participate in research, and oftentimes, as I just said, it's going to be at the crux of these academic disciplines. It's never siloed, right? Hopkins' institutional philosophy is an interdisciplinary one, and we really want our students to appreciate how academic boundaries are not solid, as we like to define them as. The city of Baltimore in and of itself is a wonderful place to be a college student. It's affordable, accessible with free public transportation, Hopkins' own citywide transportation network, other connections to institutions throughout the city of Baltimore. The largest population in the city of Baltimore is college-age students between the ages of 18 and 28. There are 14 institutions, not including Hopkins, within the greater Baltimore and Baltimore County area. This really allows for youthful, exciting, dynamic conversations about what the city needs, how our students can make an impact, and of course, to set Hopkins students apart being one of the most preeminent institutions, not just in the city of Baltimore, but the state of Maryland and the greater DMV area. It's a wonderful place to be a college student, but we want you to get off campus and really take advantage of the extracurricular commitments as well. When we're looking for students in the application process, we care about the impact you're making in your community. And so as you think about a variety of the different experiences you're getting involved in, think about the ones you want to make the greatest impact in. Please continue engaging with Hopkins. This was a lot of information for you to digest, but I do want to respect my colleagues' time and pass it over to them. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Johns Hopkins University. Before we go on to the next institution, I'd just like to remind our participants that if you do have any questions, definitely don't hesitate to put those in the Q&A chat down below. Up next, University of Maryland.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Robert Oliveri, and I'm with the University of Maryland. This is some of our overall facts at the university. So some ones that I want to highlight is the 30,000 plus undergraduate students. 43.6% of our undergraduate students identify as students of color. And that really stands out because it's one of the highest numbers you're going to see when you're doing research. And one of the reasons we really pride ourselves at University of Maryland is when you walk into a classroom, everyone has a different viewpoint and different value, different perspective, and it adds to that educational philosophy. And I know a lot of my colleagues throughout this presentation have spoken on that. Some other things that you can take advantage of at a large university like the University of Maryland is we have 800 plus clubs and organizations, and we also are double the national average for study abroad experiences. Now, our location is in College Park, Maryland. College Park, Maryland is 4 miles outside of Washington, D.C. You can take the Green Line right into DC, and from our campus to the nation's capital, it is a 25-minute commute. We're also about 45 minutes from Baltimore, and you can see some other major markets that we recruit in. Obviously, number 4 is Chicago, so one of the big markets that we get out-of-state students from. Now, being so close to the nation's capital, there is so many amenities for our students. And I think the thing that I like to highlight here is that our students take advantage and get those hands-on experiences in Washington, D.C. From all of our different major programs benefiting from everything from our aerospace engineering, having NASA, and our criminal justice program being #1 in the nation with FBI and CIA headquarters right nearby. And then we have multiple other opportunities in our business school with Amazon, 2 headquarters being on the south end of DC, and our journalism school having 2 Pulitzer Prize winners on faculty. Every single major at the university benefits from the amenities of DC, and you can intern and be a full-time student at Maryland at the same time in the fall and spring semesters. Now, if you look here, these are all of the different colleges that we offer at the University of Maryland, and you can go onto our website to see more details, and I urge my students to go on and see the details, the different information sessions they have, the faculty bios, as well as the research opportunities. We do have a specific site just for our undergraduate research studies at the University of Maryland, and each of these colleges have a research tab on their website. Now, some of the other things that I like that stand out of our educational philosophy is we are a Research One university. We have over $500 million in grants that come out for research for our students, and we are very cross-departmental in our research. So an example is we were the first group of people to do an organ donation via an unmanned aircraft. So you're using your engineering students, your health sciences students, your computer sciences students to all work together to make this innovative philosophy that's going to be the future, especially with COVID happening. To do an unmanned aircraft, to do organ donation is the trend of the medical industry. Over half of our students have 2 or more internships when they're on campus, whether it's an on-campus internship in Baltimore, DC. Internships are plentiful at the university, and our students definitely take advantage of that because it prepares them for the real world and makes our job graduation rate or job return rate 95%. Additionally, we are, again, double the national average for education abroad. So lots of opportunities for our students to study abroad. We have programs that are just general studies, as well as programs specific to each program at a specific location. And then we do have service learning and living learning communities throughout our university. If you apply to the university, you'll also get invited to some of those programs and learn a little bit more, as well as on our website. So our application process, we are a dual application school. We are in both Common App and Coalition. And we have an application form that will be prompted through the application. The other documents that we will need, so a teacher, a counselor letter, we will need official transcripts, official test scores, but we are test optional for my juniors out there. We do have an activities list and essay portion. And then the TERP application pro will allow you to see your application completeness as well as your decision when those get revealed. For our review, we have 26 different factors that we review on. They're all listed here. We do a holistic review, so there's not one thing that would get a student in or one thing that would keep a student out. We do an overall view, and the holistic review philosophy and those factors are on our website. We do have an early action deadline of November 1st, and that is non-binding. So that is our main deadline. It gives you priority consideration for scholarships, special programs, and admission. And that is the deadline you want to meet, November 1st. If you remember, the main thing to remember from this presentation is to apply by November 1st so we can review you for honors, we can review you for scholarships, and there's no separate application. If you submit an application by November 1st, you'll receive a decision by February 1st from us. And then in the month of March, we release our scholarship decisions. Now, once you're done with that, you can sit back, relax, November 1st, and check your important emails. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Sign up for our newsletter and emails. But that is all I have. I will be on the chat behind the scenes, so if you have any questions, feel free to let me know.
Thank you very much, University of Maryland, for your presentation. Up next, we have University of Massachusetts Amherst.
All right, let me just set this up real quick and I'll get to it. Hello, everyone. My name is Dylan Davies. I'm an Assistant Director of Admissions at UMass. We don't have a lot of time, so I'm just going to dive right in and tell you a little bit about our school. So we are located in Amherst, Massachusetts, about an hour 40 west of Boston and 35 minutes north of Hartford Bradley International Airport, which has direct flights every day from O'Hare. We are in this beautiful area called the Pioneer Valley, along with four wonderful neighbors, Amherst, Smith, Mount Holyoke, and Hampshire College, and have about 22,000 undergrads on our campus, 6,500 more on theirs, and 7,000 grad students to boot. We are the number 26 public university in the country this year, and we're quite happy to keep seeing that ranking going up. We have 8 different career centers on our campus to make sure that whether you're studying biology, art history, chemical engineering, or something that I can't possibly understand, like computational linguistics, whatever it is, when you walk into one of our centers, you have someone there who knows the field you're trying to go into, who knows your name, and who will be with you through that process. As a student at UMass, you're never going to walk into a fair as like an art history major and see people looking to hire accountants or engineers, just people looking for you. In addition to having great career services, we have 370 different research lab groups on our campus, 128 alone in our College of Natural Science. We are what's called a Carnegie One Research University, meaning that we have the highest level of funding of any kind of university in the United States. In addition to all of that, we have 300,000 alumni across the Commonwealth, country, and the world. And the #1 campus food and dining services for the last 6 years. You can go to school wherever you want, but there's no campus in America where you will eat better than right here in Amherst, Massachusetts. It's just a fact, and we're very proud of it. Now, beyond that, to the fun part of college, school, we have 10 different schools and colleges on our campus, including 4 incredibly competitive programs: our School of Nursing, our College of Management, College of Engineering, and our College of Computer Science. In addition to these, we have 90+ majors under the umbrellas of those 10 schools, 7 different exploratory tracks, which are our undecided programs. So if you're not sure yet what you want to do for the rest of your life, what you want to study in college, 1, congrats, you're normal. 2, whatever it is, we'll help you figure it out. You apply exploratory to 1 college at UMass, and as you go through the process, we make sure of a couple things. 1, that you're never bumped out of the class by someone looking for an elective, because we keep classes for our exploratory students in all of our intro-level courses across these 7 different tracks. In addition, you will have an advisor with you to make sure that whatever you end up choosing, even if it's something that's not in the college that you applied exploratory to, you will still be on track to graduate in 4 years. You don't want the 4-year plan to become the 5.5-year plan. That gets quite expensive. Now, if you go through exploratory or just decide that the major you picked wasn't for you, we also have BDIC. Bachelor's degree with an individual concentration is one of the oldest build your own major programs at any public university in America. It's kind of like the Farmers Insurance commercials. We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. The last 5 years alone, we've built 150 customized major programs for our students here at UMass. And other than aerospace engineering, marine science, and pharmacology, if you can sit down and coherently explain what you want to study to an academic advisor here on our campus, there is a very, very high chance that we can build that program for you. Now, beyond the classroom, there are a couple other things you can do. We don't say study abroad, we say study away, because there are a bunch of places you can go. Nearby is the 5 College Consortium. Like I said before, we have 4 wonderful neighbors, and all of them send students to our campus every year to take classes on our campus, as we do for them. After your first year at UMass, you can take up to 2 classes per year at any of these 4 other colleges. So Amherst College, Smith, Mount Holyoke, Hampshire, you name it, you can take a class there as long as there is room in the class. It does not cost you a dime more, and all of these campuses are connected through the PVTA, our free bus system. This does a couple things for you. One, if you want to avoid big classes, but you still want all of the perks of the big school, you can do that after your freshman year. You might have to take a lecture or 2, but after your freshman year, you don't ever have to be in the giant lecture hall again unless you want to be there. In addition to that, it's a great way to skip out on 8 a.m.s. You can look and see that, oh, Amherst is running that same class I want at 11 a.m. I'm going to sleep in, sign up for that, and then come back for lunch because our food, once again, is #1 in America. Beyond that, we have a domestic flagship exchange program if you want to stay in the US but go somewhere else. Our 2 most popular trips every year are the University of Montana in the fall and the University of Hawaii Manoa in the spring, where we have 19 kids right now enjoying the wonderful sunny weather that we do not have here in Chicago today. Beyond all of that, we do have traditional study abroad as well. We both have UMass in programs going to places like Seoul, South Korea, Dublin, Ireland, Rome, Italy, Uruguay, you name it, we've got a place. If you want to go somewhere where we don't happen to have a place, we have great connections at other colleges and through third-party providers. And whatever you pick, we will work very hard to make it happen. And we will also check 3 things. 1, we will make sure that the program is safe. 2, we'll make sure you know everything that is going to cost up front. And 3, we're going to make sure that all the credits you take transfer back before you go. This is really great because the worst surprise you can get from a study abroad is coming home and finding out that you are 4 classes behind all of your friends. Now, for what kind of student we're looking for and what our app process looks like, it's relatively straightforward. We are a Common App exclusive school. We don't have Coalition or any other application. It is only the Common App. We require your transcript, your activities, everything that you need to fill out the Common App, plus 2 supplemental questions. We will not next year for juniors require a test. Sophomores, I'm not sure yet, but we are test optional for 2023. Now, last year, for all 10 of our schools, we averaged a 3.7 to a 4.2 weighted GPA, an average of a 1360 SAT and a 30 ACT. For our big 4, our 4 most selected programs, nursing, business, engineering, and computer science, that average is a little higher. It's about a 3.9 to a 4.4. SAT range was a 1360 to 1500, and the ACT range was a 30 to a 34. Last thing I want to let you know before our time runs out here is our cost. This year we were at $51,181 for total out-of-state cost, tuition fee, room and board, the big 4 once again. Next year we are going to be at $51,460. If this sounds a little steep to you, please don't panic. 80% of our kids get either need-based, merit-based, or both kinds of financial aid. Now, I see that Clarissa is back on the monitor, so I'm guessing I've either run over or run out of time. Wanting to be polite to our last school, Gonzaga, I'm going to sign off, but here's our contact info. Thank you so much for listening to me talk about UMass, and I'm going to stop sharing now.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Our final institution for this session is Gonzaga University.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here this evening. Let me just grab my presentation. So Gonzaga University, we are a medium-sized liberal arts Catholic institution. Hold on one moment while my presentation pulls up. We are a medium-sized liberal arts Catholic institution rooted up in Spokane, Washington. So I am the counselor for our Illinois students. So I will be your point of contact. I'm also an alum 2 times over. So I graduated from Gonzaga spring of 2020 over Zoom, my parents' living room, which was quite the experience. And then stayed an extra year in one of our 4+1 programs and completed my master's degree. So some numbers at a glance. We are a little smaller than some of the institutions that we've heard from tonight. We are 4,800 strong in our undergraduate population. I really loved that as a student because we were big enough to get D1 athletics, access to internships and different opportunities in Spokane, but we were small enough
So it looks like Gonzaga University has unfortunately frozen at the moment. If you'll just bear with us while we momentarily try to correct this as quick as possible. Thank you. While we're waiting to see if she's able to reconnect, feel free to start popping in some questions in the Q&A. I've seen a few come in already, so definitely keep them coming for our admissions representatives. Let's go ahead and move on to some of our questions for the evening. Just give me 2 seconds to prepare this for all of you. So I'm going to ask all of our current admissions representatives for these institutions to come back on to answer some questions for all of you about some different items in the admissions process. So the first question is, what advice would you give someone going through the college search process? And we will go in presentation order, so I'll turn it over to Northwestern University first.
Perfect. So just really quickly, I would say if you're starting the college search process, one of the first things I would recommend is kind of making a list of priorities of what you're looking for in a school. The great secret is that there's a ton of options in the United States if you're looking to study domestically, and we are very fortunate to have them. But no university is going to be perfect. And so sometimes you might have to give up something to get something that you're really looking for. So if you can go into your college counseling office with a very clear idea of what's most important to you, and also perhaps what you're willing to kind of give up in order to get those things, that is a way to kind of start looking at what schools might be a great fit for you.
I would say we need to be honest about needs versus wants. So for many families, a leading need in this process might be the ability to afford to go to a college, right? Be financially aware. And that means there has to be an honest conversation about like which colleges might be on the table versus one that might not be off the table. And on a student personal level, there are needs and wants. Like needs are non-negotiable, right? I need this to be happy, successful, and well in college. What are those things? Identify those things. And what are the cool wants that would be next perks if I can get them each year?
The piece of advice I usually give when I get this question from pretty much anyone, I think the college admissions process is one that really easily lends itself to forcing yourself into a mold or a cookie cutter or an expectation that you may or may not hold for yourself, regardless of the details of the match of this process. And so while saying be authentic sounds really hollow, it is ultimately at the core what we're looking for from you all in this process. An honest reflection of where are you, what are you going to need to be successful. Yes, there's a lot of wonderful opportunities at all of the institutions represented here, as well as all of the other panels as a part of this fair and all of the other institutions not even represented, right? who are you, what are your goals, and where are those goals going to thrive? Being honest in that is really a key and first step that will allow you to excel wherever you go afterwards. And the students who I feel aren't as successful are not being honest at that very first press.
Yeah, so this is a great question. I typically tell my students to do research on the universities, on the faculty, on the research that the universities are conducting. Websites are an amazing thing, and you can get a lot of resources and information doing those research. We are also here to help guide you through those steps. So if you want to reach out to us, we are happy to direct you in the right direction if we don't know the answer ourselves. But really focusing on who you are as a student, what your passion is, what you want to study, and aligning that with the universities that you're interested in. Now, for my undecided students, I would look at institutions that are versatile and have multiple platforms. I know a lot of schools on our panel here today already spoke on that, having interdisciplinary. Our university has lots of double majors, lots of options to pair different things to focus on multiple different interests. And that's something you want to look for if you're not quite sure exactly where your passion lies.
Drawback of going last, Mrs. I've got 4 great answers to follow up here. I'd absolutely go with really what Nick and Robert said. One thing I think, especially for us big school counselors, that gets lost a lot of times is we talk about programs. I don't think we talk enough about fit and making sure that a school and a community that you're joining is really a place where you're going to be happy. Whether you go in at 18 doing that thing that you think you want to do, whether it's pre-med or engineering or painting, whatever it is, or whether you change your mind, having options, having freedom, and having a place where you feel safe and comfortable to explore wherever your interests might go over your 4 years is really important. And I think so much time now we put stress on, well, what are outcomes? What is this program ranked at this school? Make sure that this is a place you want to call home for the next 4 years. Because if it's not, then you shouldn't be looking there at all.
Thank you, everyone, for those wonderful pieces of advice. We do have time for one more question, so we will go on to our next one, which is, what's one thing you want students to remember about your school? And I'll turn it back over to Northwestern.
All right. So my provocation to you is this. If you're applying to a school like Northwestern, which is to say we are a very highly selective school, one of the things that I would impress upon you is that for us, an offer of admission, of college admission, is not a reward for having done high school well. And it's not a thing where we see that you jumped through all these hoops, checked all these boxes, got to just great grades and perfect test scores, and therefore somehow deserve to get into Northwestern, right? I think that's where a lot of folks start. For us, an offer of admission is really sort of a belief in your potential of what you can do on our campus and how you can come to Northwestern and be amazing and awesome and wonderful. And with that, really quickly, I would say the idea of being amazing is not necessarily trying to impress us. We have folks who have competed in the Olympics. They have patents under their belt. Our expectation isn't that you do those things, right? But instead, I would say, if you're seriously considering us at Northwestern, one of the ways that you can make the most impact in your application is not to try to impress us, but to get us as admission officers to try to cheer for you and what you are trying to do on our campus. If I have a very clear idea of who you are as a student and how you can make our community better, that is always a student who I would be more willing to advocate for in committee. And with that, I'll turn it over to Chicago.
Oh yeah, 100%. I will add that, several of us have talked about fit. We keep saying fit, and it's really hard to, well, what is fit, right? When you're starting your search. There are a lot of ways to find that fit. I think you can see a lot of character in different parts of the application process. So for us, you see some of that character in our essay questions. Our supplemental essay questions have tons of character, right? You can find fit in those questions. And you can do that for pretty much any college, right? What do you think about what they're asking you if they have supplemental essay questions? What do you see as the trend of what they like to post when they post to social media? What are students on that campus writing about, choosing to write about in the campus newspapers, which are all available online now? Like, there are a lot of venues in which you can find fit. So for us, right, that fit is that kind of out of the box, different thinking. That is very much liberal arts fit. That is definitely Chicago, but you can find fit for colleges if you're looking in the right places.
At Hopkins, I think one thing that I really want students to remember, I think students already know research, they can find that, they can find majors, things like that. I think the one piece I really want students and families to understand about Hopkins is it's an incredibly collaborative space, one that is almost necessitating of this collaboration. I think many students who are looking at many of the institutions on this call have maybe never failed in their entire life, right? Or failure looks very not very problematic. It's a smaller failure relative to actual failure or having to restart something or retry something, right? These are students who are going to be at the absolute pinnacle of their schools, of academic excellence, intellectual curiosity, what have you. But research in and of itself is something you're going to fail 99 times before you have that success. And one of the ways that you can mitigate that is through collaboration, right? The openness and willingness to learn from each other is a wonderful thing that is necessary at Hopkins, but hopefully a philosophy that you carry with you regardless of where you end up going.
So for the University of Maryland, just to divert a little bit of a differential from us from the panel, is we're probably the largest institution on this panel, and we merge a lot of things being a large institution. Being a Big Ten member, being in College Park, Maryland, like a true college town, being so close to Washington, D.C., being so diverse, our students have this advocate culture, have this diverse and collaborative culture that really brings together a model of what the real world would look like. And that's what I really like to hit home to my students. Is if you're planning and preparing for the real world, University of Maryland is that educational learning environment, that safety net and pillow to practice things that you're going to want to and continue to practice in the real world, but be able to do it on a smaller scale, but still have that large university, big picture scale.
Well, besides the food, Robert is really killing me here. So I'd say a lot of the same things about UMass, honestly, in terms of we are a huge institution, 20,000+, but because we are so big, because we have all of these opportunities, because we have 4 other liberal arts colleges around us where you can take classes, you really have, I'd say, for a school of our size, more ability here than anywhere else to customize what you want your education to look like over 4 years, from the class size to what subjects you take. You can study just about anything you want and you can feel comfortable while you do it. We have this really laid back culture here where you will see someone who is like Brooks brother to the max, like I am, and then someone in George with blue mohawk, and neither will bat an eye at the other. They just go about their business. Whatever they're passionate about, whatever they're focused on, they stay on it and they don't think much of anything else. I'd say that sort of that freedom to be who you are and do what you want is what sets us apart.
Thank you everyone for sharing all of that. And we are wrapping up this session. So thank you everyone for joining us. When you close this window, there will be a link to a very quick 5-question survey, and we'd appreciate any feedback you can provide to us. And as mentioned earlier, the session was recorded, as well as all the other sessions from this evening, and they can all be found at strivescan.com/Ignatius. Again, thank you for joining us and have a great evening.